ॐ विश्वं दर्पणदृश्यमाननगरी तुल्यं निजान्तर्गतं पश्यन्नात्मनि मायया बहिर्भूतं यथा निद्रया यः साक्षात् कुरुते प्रबोधसमये स्वात्मानमेवाद्वयं तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये बीजस्यान्तरिवाङ्कुरो जगदिदं प्राङ्निर्विकल्पं पुनः मायाकल्पितदेशकालकलना वैचित्रचित्रीकृतं मायावीव विजृम्भयत्यपि महायोगी वयस्वेच्छया तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नमः इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्तिः 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 सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम् ॐ Verse 85 सांशस्य घटवन्नाशः भवत्येव तथा सति कृतनाशा कृताभ्यागमयोः को वारको भवेत्. So, in this chapter, Vidyaranya talked about Mahavakya. In fact, this chapter is a Mahavakya analysis, elaborate analysis. And in that also, right now, from verse number 22 to verse number 103, we are looking upon the one part of the Mahavakya, that is Tvampada. And so, analysis of the Tvampada is going on. And to show the Aikyam between Tvam and Tat, he gave an example. I am just reminding you. He gave an example of a Akasha from verse 18 to verse 21. And there you will find the Akasha Drishtanta. There he talked about the four types of Akasha. And that is, one is a Ghatakasha and then Jalakasha. The second one is a Meghakasha and Mahakasha. So Ghatakasha and Jalakasha belongs to that individual space. Jalakasha means Jala Pratibimbita Akasha, the reflected space in the water. In the water, and where is that water? In the pot. And so, that is that is a reflected space. And Ghatakasha is just a Akasha. It's not a reflected space, but it's a Akasha. And that is a individual space, and reflected space and individual space. And then it's like a Tvampada. And the second one is a Meghakasha. So Megha Pratibimbita Akasha. That is at the level of a Samashti. Well, it's a bigger space. So Megha means a cloud. So basically the space reflected in the clouds. And then Mahakasha. Well, so Mahakasha and Meghakasha, it's like a Tatpada. And Jalakasha and this Ghatakasha, it's an individual space. It's like a Tvampada. But basically Ghatakasha and Mahakasha are one alone. Akasha cannot be divided. So Ghatakasha. So Ghata Avachinna Akasha. So the space covered by the pot. And the space which is not covered. So it's all pervading space, Mahakasha. You cannot divide. Because the pot seems to divide the space. Divide into two, Ghatakasha, Mahakasha, but actually pot cannot divide, because in fact the whole pot is in the space, Mahakasha, and therefore basically Ghatakasha is equal to Mahakasha. So like Tat is equal to Tvam. So I'm reminding you, so it's like a Mahavakya. To explain Mahavakya, he took the Drishtanta of a Akasha from verse 18 to 21, and then from verse 22 onwards he started this Tvampada analysis, and it will go up to 103. And in that we have seen, in that Tvampada we have also established that is Tvam Tvam Padartha has two components, and one is a Kutastha, another is a Jivaha. And definitely when we talked about a Jivaha, that's a reflected consciousness, then definitely reflecting medium also is definitely will be there. And of these three components, Kutastha Chaitanyam, Jivaha, and this reflecting medium called this various bodies, physical body and subtle body, etc. Out of these three, two are products. So Kutastha, Jivaha, and Deha, etc. Subtle body and gross body. So subtle body, gross body, which are reflecting medium, and this Jiva, these both are products. Products of what? Products of Maya. Well, then Maya also is a product, because this is the logic they apply. Well, you said Deha, etc. are mithya. So because they are products, then Maya also is a mithya. Therefore, Maya is also a product. This is what? Maya is not a product. Maya, even though Maya is mithya, it is all the time associated with it. It is all the time non-separate from the consciousness, Brahman. Maya is not a product. Everything is a product of Maya. Maya is a product of Brahman. Don't say that. Maya is Anadi. What is Anadi cannot be product, right? Beginningless means what? It is not a product. Product means it has a beginning. Any product, any karyam, any effect, any creation will have a beginning. And therefore, Maya is not a product of a Brahman. Then you said Brahman alone is there everywhere, but Maya is also all the time there. Therefore, how will you say Advaitam? Well, that is mithya. Mithya cannot be counted. While counting, Maya cannot be counted. That's all it is. And therefore, Maya, which is all the time abhindam from Brahman, these two are products. Jiva is a product of Maya, and this reflecting medium also is like Deha, etc. Gross body, subtle body are also. And then what about causal body? That causal body is included in Maya, okay? And that is Karana. And therefore, basically, these two are products. Anyway, and the reflected consciousness and reflecting medium both are mithya. Since reflecting medium itself is mithya, reflecting consciousness also is mithya, jiva is mithya, etc. So every individual is a mixture of two. So this is a reflecting medium. And in that there is a reflection called Chidabhasa, called jiva, called ahankara. And so the body, reflecting medium, and the reflected consciousness, both is a mithya. It's also included in this Tvampada. When I say you, then it also refer to the body, medium, and the reflected consciousness, and then definitely Satyamsha, Kutastha also is there. And so every individual is a mixture. Actually, Tvampada analysis is ultimately this. Every individual is a mixture of Satya Amsha and Mithya Amsha. And when we listen to this Mahavakya, this time, then Tvam, when I say you, then definitely equated in the Mahavakya, you are Brahman. And then that means I am Brahman. Then definitely that I, he refers to Satya Amsha only. When I say I am Brahman, definitely I refer to Satya Amsha only. And when I say I am writing an application, then that I is not Brahman. Well, therefore Kutastha cannot write an application. And therefore, when I say I am writing an application, then that I refers to the Mithya Amsha of this mixture. Okay? And therefore, I is a mixture of two, Satya and Mithya Amsha. So, sometime I refers to Mithya Amsha, sometime I refers to Satya Amsha. And that is what Veda also does. Veda Purvabhaga refers to the Mithya Amsha of the I, Karta, Bhokta, Pramata, etc. And Vedanta ultimately refers to the Satya Amsha of the I, that is Atma or Kutastha. So this is how. So definitely, and this Jiva basically is under the control of this reflecting medium. It is mithya. It is never free. And very survival of this reflected consciousness, which is or the Jiva, is due to reflecting medium. If reflecting medium itself is not there, reflection cannot be there. And so, and reflection comes and goes, etc. Comes and goes means basically they get resolved also. So anyway, So basically this is how the Tvam-pada analysis is, Satyamsha, Mithyamsha. While counting, it is one. And so in the state of ignorance, I am an individual. I am just a jiva. That's a reality. After analysis of Tvam-pada, it's a mixture. So then where is Advaita? Advaita means you have to say ultimately it is one. Instead, in fact, with the help of Vedanta, you are bringing in a mixture, which we were not thinking of mixture. We were thinking I am jiva only. So we are really Advaita. That I am jiva. But basically you say it's a mixture. So you are creating Dvaita. We are not creating Dvaita. We are saying you the mixture, but we will not keep you as a mixture. We will ultimately tell you what is your reality. We are doing that mixture in order to separate the Mithyamsha from that Satyamsha. I mean, just to clearly identify what is Mithyamsha. In fact, that Mithyamsha only under the spell of ignorance you take it as a Satyam. And whenever the Mithyamsha is there, the Satyamsha must be there. In fact, Mithya is Satyam. That is what Pujya Swami says. Mithya is Satyam. That is just under the spell of ignorance, the Mithya has been taken as a reality. In fact, with the help of the knowledge, ultimately we say what is Mithya and what is Satyamsha. That's a discrimination, Viveka. And ultimately, while counting, Mithya can never be counted. It is just an appearance. Any appearance cannot be counted. And therefore, you are Kutastha, that's a reality. And that is equated with the Tatpada. And that is how Mahavakya is done. So, Tvam-pada Vachyartha basically means you are Jiva. Well, we don't mind it. But Tvam-pada Lakshartha, well, through Bhagatyaga Lakshana, ultimately, removing the Mithya part, ultimately you are Kutastha, that is Advaita. And so, when you are saying, I am a Jiva, there is Advaita. Because any Jiva will be always a limited entity. It cannot go beyond the reflecting medium. Any reflection cannot go beyond reflecting medium. And therefore, while you say, when I am Jiva, well, definitely you consider yourself as a limited entity. And then there is another limited entity indicated by a second person. Then there is another limited entity indicated by third person. And that's how in your vision there is a Dvaita due to ignorance. In fact, we were, while saying that you are Kutastha, you are all pervading, we are saying. And therefore it is just Advaita alone. So therefore Atma is one alone, or Kutastha is one alone. Kutastha is Brahman, that is the ultimate analysis of Mahavakya. What is said here, Kutastha, well, ultimately it is equated with the Brahman. But where we have done that equation, but we have not completed equation. We are right now in Tvam-pada. We will do analysis of the Tat-pada also, and then we will say about Asi also. So please wait. Kutastha is Brahman. That will come in this chapter itself. And therefore, so this is how the discussion is going on. And regarding this Kutastha, well, there are confusions. Regarding the real I, basically, there are confusions, prevailing in the world. Because of the ignorance of that real I, which is Kutastha, there is a misconception among philosophers and as well as among lay people also. And right now, we are concentrating on the philosophers. What do they think about this real I, that is Kutastha? They have varieties of the notions. Even the Vedic philosophers like Tarkika, etc. also commit this kind of a mistake regarding the real I. And these mistakes can be divided into three layers. One is a mistake committed to identity of the Kutastha or a real I. That is called Lakshana Vipratipattaya. Pratipatti means an opinion. Actually, Pratipatti means knowledge, but here we have to take it as an opinion. Vipratipatti means Vividaha Pratipatti. So, Vividaha Pratipattaya, you can say. You can put plural. Vividaha. Varieties of the opinions, varieties of the notions. Among whom? Among the philosophers. Regarding what? Regarding real I. And those confusions or notions are, of three types. One, regarding the identity of this, regarding the identity, they have varieties of the opinions. regarding the real I. That is called Lakshana Vipratipatti. Well, and there we have seen, one is saying Deha is Atma, other is saying sense organs are Atma, third one is saying, well, all Charvakas, you know, and third one is saying, well, mind is Atma, fourth one is saying, well, Buddhi is Atma, etc. I'm sorry, Prana is Atma, that's all. And then Buddhas came and said, no, this is not an Atma. Then what is Atma? Buddhi is Atma, Vijnanam is Atma, Kshanika Vijnanam is Atma. And then, well, someone says, no, Shunyam is Atma, ultimately everything has come from Shunyam. So these are all regarding the identity of the real I. We call Lakshana Vipratipatti. This is a one type of confusion. Three types of confusions are there. First confusion regarding the identity of the real I. They have varieties of the opinions. When the confusion means of varieties, confusion means more than one. That's how they say. Samshaya, dvikotikaha samshaya. Dvikotika. Koti means actually, opinion. Dvikotika. For one thing, there are two opinions. Means there is a doubt, definitely. For one thing, everyone says only a particular thing. But one thing alone, then there is no samshaya. For one thing, you have varieties of opinions. Means there is a doubt regarding that. So that is how it is. So anyway, so Deha and Manaha and Buddhi and etc. All these are regarding the identity of this, regarding the identity of this Kutastha, real I. Well, they don't say it is a Kutastha, etc. Instead, they say Deha is Atma, etc. So this is one type of confusion. Then second type of confusion is Parimana Vipratipattaya, regarding the dimensions of that real I. Well, so there are people who say, well, this Atma is basically Anu. Atma is a Anu. Someone says, no, Atma is a Madhyama Parimana. Third one says, no, Atma is a Vibhu Parimana, etc. So, Anu refers to the smallest, Vibhu refers to the biggest, and Madhyama is in between. So, Madhyama is in between anything, and that is generally, Madhyama means of the size of the body. These Anuvadis are called Antaralaha or Antaralikaha by Vidyaranya, and we have discussed this Anuvada from verse number 79 to 81. This is just I am giving you a bifurcation of the whole thing. And so Anuvada has been discussed between verse number 79 to 81. Then Madhyamavada means Atma is of the size of the body. That we discussed between verse number 82 to 85. And that is in that we have discussed the matam of a Digambaras also, who says that Atma is of the size of the body. And Vidyaranya says, well, this view is refuted by Vibhu Atmavadi, who says Atma is infinite. So Atma is all pervading, and in that we are also included in that. In Vibhuvadis, Atma is infinite or limitless, we also say. Nitya sarvagataha sthanuhu achaloyam sanatanaha. Sarvagataha, sarvavyapi, and Nitya. These two are enough to argue with Madhyam Parimanavadis. And so, anyway, this Vibhuvadi refutes Madhyamavadi. And yesterday we saw also, if Atma is finite in size, then the problem, finite in size means of the size of a body, then definitely Atma automatically becomes Anitya. And well, Atma Anitya, we can give that reasoning. Atma Anitya, well, Madhyama Parimanatvat Shariravat, like body. And you said Atma also of the size of the body. Because basically whole body is sentient. Sentience is due to consciousness. And therefore, well, sentience you don't find, more than more than the body. And therefore, sentiency, well, definitely just to the body. Therefore, Atma also pervades the entire body. And therefore, Atma is of the size of the body only. Not beyond the limits of the body. And then, so we said, well, then Sharira also, well, Anityam. Atma also becomes Anityam. And then, well, he went on saying that let the Atma be Anityam. Because he could not find. the answer. It resulted into that. So how Atma is of the size of the body, but then how Atma becomes Anityam? Let the body become Anityam. Why Atma becomes Anityam? I have already told you. Let me remind you again. Then what about the Shruti statements which says Atma is a very, very subtle. Yatha Kesha Sahasrada Bhinnaha Brihadaranyaka Upanishad says Atma is of the size of an anu. You divide that hair into 1,000 times and then take a tip of it and then divide into 100 times and then divide into 100. So Atma is, and then flows through that nadi, right? That lymphatic vessels, yeah. So it flows through that. It flows through that. Then if you say Atma is of the size of the body, how can it enter into that? Oh, this physical body cannot enter into the shirt. Okay? So part of the body enters, like hands enter. So same way, Atma is of the size of the body only. But then while entering into that lymphatic vessel, its own some part of that Atma will enter into that. Just as the physical body cannot enter into the shirt, but the part of the body can enter. Same way, part of the Atma, which is of the size of this body only, part of that Atma can enter. What is the problem? Oh, so Atma has a parts? Yeah, Atma has a parts. Atma has a parts. Oh, if Atma has a parts, then definitely Atma gets destroyed. Anything which has a parts, falls apart. And therefore, please, you have to remember these arguments. I am repeating. Why are you repeating? You have to remember. If you want to make your mind free from the doubts, there is no option but to remember this refutation of varieties of the notion regarding this Kutastha, and then only this Nididhyasanam will be possible. I tell you, in case while doing Nididhyasanam, if you remember a doubt of a Jainas or a doubt of a Vishishtadvaiti, and if you cannot solve it, where is going to be the Nishtha? Where is going to be the Nishtha? Nishtha requires a crystal clarity regarding the self. If you are crystal clear, Nishtha is just a feet away. I am telling you. And this Grantha, particularly Pancadasi, is heavily dependent upon this resolving varieties of the notions, doubts, which are created in fact by the acharyas in order to make you free, in order to make your knowledge which has been generated through Shravanam free from all doubts. And therefore these doubts we are repeating, and refutations also we are repeating for that purpose, so that in your mind it gets fixed forever. Any matam, any kind of a doubt pertaining to the self, pertaining to this Kutastha or real I, should not be there. And therefore I am also repeating again and again. So we are saying if Atma has a parts, then it will fall apart. And because the body also is anityam, body falls apart because its parts are getting destroyed. And therefore definitely same way, if Atma also has a parts, it will fall apart, and so Atma is anityam, like the body. Then if Atma is anityam, then the problems, so many problems. That's how I quoted this, Nityaha Sarvagataha. We say Vibhuvadis, and especially we say Atma is Nityaha. Jainas says, who are Madhyam Parimanavadi, they say Atma is Anityaha. And if Anitya is there, so many doshas are there, so many defects are there, so many fallacies. But ultimately one fallacy which is really they could not answer, and that is Kritanasha Akrita Abhyagama dosha. That is what we have seen in verse number 85. Kritanashaha, Kritahanaha sometimes they call. Hanaha is equal to Nashaha. Kritahanaha, Kritam, done. And Nashaha, destruction. Destruction of what is done. Destruction of karmas which has been done by that Atma, who is of the size of size of the physical body, Madhyama Parimana. Because it is Anityam. Atma is Anityam. And he was a champion. He did lot of papas, and then he got destroyed. Then who will experience all the phalam? So there will be a disorder in a moral order. It cannot be. Moral order cannot be destroyed. And therefore, being order. And therefore, ultimately, you cannot challenge moral order. In your understanding, there will be a destruction of the moral order. Or you may say there is no order at all. All these people who are committing adharmas, they say, where is this moral order? If you do this karma and then you will have to repay and then this and you have to undergo experience, etc. Avashyameva bhoktavyam. Krutam, what is that? Krutam karma shubha shubham. Avashyameva bhoktavyam. You will have to undergo experience of pleasure or a pain. Avashyameva bhoktavyam. Krutam karma shubha shubham. If you do shubha karma, you will have to experience the pleasure. And if you do ashubha karma, means papa karma, you have to experience pain. That's order. That order will be destroyed. If you say Atma is anityam and he has done a lot of papa and still without undergoing any experience of a pain, etc., it got destroyed. So krita hana, what has been done by that jiva who is anitya, hana, gone. It's a dosha. It's going against the moral order. And that is not possible. And second is akrita abhyagama. And so, akrita abhyagama, which he has not done. Definitely, he has to undergo akrita abhyagama. Abhyagama means coming. So, certain results come to the person, for the Atma. Ultimately, he has to experience. What is that? What are you speaking? Akrita abhyagama means, suppose a jiva is anitya, and so he dies along with the physical body. Fine. Then do you believe in punarjanma? This Digambara says, yes, we believe in punar. Then the new jiva will be there, right? Because that jiva has gone. And then punarjanma means a new body, a new jiva will come. New body will come, it's okay. And then Atma, which is of the size of the body. But that's a new Atma. And then new Atma experiences something, pleasure and pain. For what? For what? He just generated. And he is undergoing some kind of a pain. For what? Basically because that Atma has died. And he did not experience all those karmas which is done by that Atma. But that comes to this jiva. Like what happens, like you are, a individual is living in a house. And that person dies. Then a new individual arrives in that house. Same way, the karma will remain like a house. And that jiva dies. And because anitya. So he dies. And a new jiva will come. And these karmas will stick to that new jiva. And those karmas, punya papa both. Then that new jiva which has not done any kind of a papa. And still he has to experience papa. Done by whom? Done by him? No, he is a new. Done by the previous Atma. Because so akrita, not done. Abhyagamaha, arrival of the karmas, karma phalas basically. Arrival of karma phalas which has not been done by this new jiva. That's a dosha. It's going against moral order. He is getting punishment for no reason. That's not possible. And therefore, definitely, jiva must be continuous. Jiva must continue. And therefore, a fresh jiva has to suffer for no reason, and it is injustice. And therefore, unperformed punya papa, etc., will go to that new jiva in your philosophy. That is against moral order, and therefore Atma should have a continuity. And so, and this particular dosha, I will remind you. Yesterday I forgot. We have already discussed this dosha in chapter 3, verse number 4. And there we were discussing. I will give you the reference. In which reference we have discussed this dosha. Krita hanaha, akrita abhyagamaha. That dosha we discussed while doing a panchakosha viveka in chapter 3. At that time, a single argument to prove that this body is, the Atma is not of the size of the body, or Atma is not this body. Atma is not Annamaya Kosha. To prove that, we have done this argument. Annamaya Kosha means this body. If physical body is an Atma, then definitely, this problem will arise. Because physical body is Atma, means physical body is a doer of karma, physical body is a karta, then physical body alone must be the bhokta. But physical body has done varieties of the wrong karmas, I mean adharma, etc., and get destroyed. Definitely it destroys. Then, in next life, again a new body will be there, and that body is a karta, but then he has to suffer. He has to suffer of the previous life, but that body which has done all the karmas has destroyed. Then, this body has to suffer. How can this body has to suffer, a new body has to suffer in a new janma? That cannot be possible. And therefore, karta or bhokta must be independent of the physical body. Well, he has done some karma as a karta, and he only has to suffer in a next life as a bhokta. Then that karta bhokta must be the independent of the physical body, because physical body gets destroyed. So it looks like all adharmas have been done by the physical body, Annamaya Kosha, but ultimately Annamaya Kosha is not a karta. Karta is a distinct entity living in that physical body, which will continue even after the fall of a physical body. And therefore, that karta bhokta alone must be the Atma and not this physical body. This argument we did while doing an analysis of Panchakosha and Atma Viveka Prakarana. And therefore, Annamaya is not Atma. For that purpose, we did this argument. Atma must be, who is a karta bhokta, must be distinct from this Annamaya Kosha. So, Atma is not karta bhokta, Atma is a karta bhokta. Okay. You please refer to that chapter 3 and then please come back to me. So, there we did like that, and ultimately we said this Jiva is not Atma, basically Atma is a karta bhokta. But then initially we did this kind of an argument there. And there we showed this, we have shown this dosha while refuting physical body as Atma. Annamaya as Atma. So here also Vidyaranya asks, Kaha varakaha bhavet? Well, who will find remedy for this moral disorder? So Atma has to be Nitya. Atma has to survive the death of physical body. And if in your vision, O Digambaras, in your vision, if Atma is basically Anityam, then who will experience these results of the previous life? A new Atma has to be there, right? And new Atma, without without doing any kind of a karma, he has to suffer. And so that is not possible. And therefore, Atma has to be Nityam, and therefore Atma cannot be of a Madhyama Parimana. Because Madhyama Parimana means of the size of the body, and then all problems will be there. And so, Atma must be Vibhu Parimana. Atma cannot be Anu Parimana, Atma cannot be Madhyama Parimana. So, Vibhu Parimanavadi refutes both these confusions regarding the dimensions of the Atma, regarding the dimensions of this real I. In Tvampada, the real I. In Tvampada, it's a mixture, Mithya I and real I. But definitely, regarding this real I, there is a confusion. And Parimana, regarding the dimension, there are confusions. And then, so three things are there. Madhyama, Anuvada, Madhyamavadaha and Vibhuvadaha. So Vibhu Parimanavadaha definitely refutes these two. And now he discusses his own paksha. Verse 86. Tasmadatma mahaneva naivanurnapi madhyamaha akashavat sarvagataha niramshashruti sammataha. Tasmat means therefore, means conclusion. Vibhuvadi says. So he says that, dismissing Madhyamavadis, Atma Mahan Eva, Atma is big in size. Here Mahan not in terms of quality. Mahan means, generally word Mahan is used for a qualitative purpose. But it is not here in terms of a quality, in terms of dimension. So Atma Mahan Eva means Atma is big, Atma is limitless, Atma is infinite. So size wise he is telling here Mahan. And so Naiva Anuhu, so Anuvada has been refuted before. And so verse number 79 to 81, where we discuss this Anuvada, But Swami, we did not refute Anuvada. But I told you, we are sitting in that lazy boy chair and taking a cup of coffee. We are not doing any job. This Madhyamavadi refutes Anuvadi. And Madhyamavada is refuted by Vibhovadi. So this is how it is. So verse 79 to 81 where we discussed this Anuvada is negative. So Naiva Anuhu, Atma is not of the size of the Anu. And then Napi Madhyamaha, verse 82 to 85, there we discussed Atma is of the size of a body, etc. And that also has been refuted by these Vibhuvadis. And so he says Akashavat Sarvagataha and Niramshaha. Basically Atma is like Akashavat, Atma is like a space, Sarvagataha, all pervading, like a space, and Niramshaha, Amsha, Avayava, part. Niramshaha, partless. Right? That's what we refuted. For Madhyamavadi who was saying Atma is Samshaha, Atma is having a parts. So when we discuss that Atma becomes Anitya, etc. Anyway, so Niramshaha, Atma is Niravaya, like a space. And Atma is all pervading, like a space. So space does not have any parts. Same way, it's not a composite entity, it's an indivisible entity, and so Vibhovadi says Atma is also like this. And how can you say? Have you seen Atma all pervading like that? How can you say? This Vibhovadi has been questioned like that. Then we say it is Shruti Sammataha. Atma is Vibhu, Atma is infinite, Shruti Sammataha. It has been revealed by the Shruti. What is the Shruti? Well, so many Shrutis are there. So many statements of the Shrutis are there. In Mundaka Upanishad, Yattad Adreshyam, Agrahyam, Agotram, Avarnam, Achakshushrotram, Tadapanipadam, Nityam, Vibhum, Sarvagatam, Susukshmam, Sarvagatam. We are interested in 2-3 words here. Nityam. Atma is Nityaha and Sarvagatam, all pervading. So that's how we are saying Atma is like a space which is all pervading. So several are there. In second will be Shvetashvatara Upanishad also. Several places are there. 6.4, you can see that. Bhagavad Gita also I just mentioned Nitya Sarvagata Sthanuhu Achaloyam Sanatana. So anyway, Shruti Sammataha means when we say Atma is infinite, we have a support of a Shruti. Shruti Sammataha means we have a support of the Shruti. So Shruti clearly says Atma is all pervading. Still now, this is Pancadasi. Even when you say Atma is infinite, now among these Vibhuvadis also, there is going to be a fight. So there are so many confusions. Even in terms of dimension, there is a concurrence. That all this Vibhuvadi says Atma is infinite, Atma is infinite, Atma is infinite. No problem. Still there is a fight regarding something else. That's what we have to discuss. We discussed 2 confusions. I told you 3 types of confusions are there in philosophers. One is a Lakshana Vipratipatti regarding the identity of this real I. Whether it is a Deha, whether it is a mind. What is this real I? Somebody says Deha is a real I. Somebody says mind is a real I. Somebody says Prana is a real I. Somebody says Manaha is a real I. Somebody says Buddhi, Vijnanam is a real I. Somebody says Shunyam is a real I. Ultimately, so that is regarding identity of the real I. There are confusions among philosophers. That is the first type of confusion. Second is a Parimana Viprati, which is just completed. That real I it has a what type of dimension? So Anuvada, Madhyamavada, Vibhovada. Now confusions with regard to the nature. So earlier I told like that while discussing Lakshana Vipratipatti, I said it's a nature, but actually Vidyaranya is bifurcating. So even if I have used the word nature of the Atma, there are confusions. That you take them as a identity of the real I, there are confusions. So Lakshanam, and here now Swarupa Vipratipatti. So regarding the nature of the real I, there are confusions among Vibhuvadis. Among these people who are saying Atma is infinite. But what is the nature of that real I? Then there are confusions. So Well, so this is the glory of a mind. You can see human mind. So even though dimension wise and Lakshana wise, well, they have a concurrence. Everyone says Atma is distinct from Deha and mind and Prana and Buddhi, all that, and Atma is not Shunyam, etc. So they have a concurrence. And Atma is infinite. Regarding dimension also they have a concurrence. But then what is the nature of that I? Then still they have a confusion among themselves. So that let's start, let's discuss in verse 87. Ityuktva tadvisheshetu bahudha kalaham yayuhu achidrupotha chidrupaha chidachidrupa ityapi. So, well, Vidyaranya does not deal actually with Sankhya. There is a Sankhya Vipratipatti also. Most of the philosophers, Vaidika philosophers, in fact, who says that Atma is infinite, they have a confusion regarding the number. Many of them will say Atmas are many. But we are not discussing. That's called Sankhya Vipratipatti. Vipratipatti means, I told you, opinion. Vipratipatti. Vividaha Pratipattaya. So varieties of the opinions. And well, regarding the number. So opinions, various opinions regarding the number of Atmas. Even though Atma is infinite, there is number. You can imagine how infinite can be many. But there are champions, even though they are Vaidikas, but they say like that. But we are not discussing into that. Most of the people accept Vedanti. Vedanti also is included. Vedanti also is a Vibhu Parimanavadi. But regarding the number, we say Atma is one alone. And there is nothing other than Atma. Ekameva Dvitiyam. But other philosophers, well, they say Atmas are many. Atma is infinite in size, and Atmas are many also. How infinite can be many, that you and me will never understand. So Atma is Ekaha or Anekaha. Well, that is, even they will try to prove that even though it is infinite, there are many. They will try to prove, and there is a bloody battle for that actually. And so anyway, so this is going on. It is just a glory, I tell you. This is the glory of a human mind. Basically, human mind is, it's a vibhuti of Ishvara. And you can see here in the philosophy. And regarding the Atma, one thing, how many opinions and how many things are there? It's just a product of human mind. So enjoy them. While refuting, you enjoy them. While refuting, don't create a dvesha for them. Don't hate them. So just enjoy them. Love them. So Sankhyas and Yogas and Nayayikas and Vaisheshikas and Purvamimamsakas, well, all believe Atmas are many. Except Vedantin, who is also Vibhu Parimanavadi, who says, well, Atma is one alone. And how do they arrive at manyness of Atma? See, what they do is, they say Atma is basically, they divide Atma into two. Paramatma, Jivatma. And then say Paramatma is one. And Jivatmas are many. That's how it is. So Paramatma is one. But then Paramatma and Jivatma is one entity. That is Vedantin says. They don't say that. They don't say. So, well, basically this Tvampada analysis, individual, and that individual is Jiva alone, who is distinct from the body, distinct from the mind, distinct from the senses, everything. Then that really, then no dimension of a Jiva. That's what we are saying. Once the dimension of a Atma will be there when you take this all into account. Whether you take a Deha, mind and senses and all, if you say they are the Atma, then it has a dimension. But when you say it is distinct from all this, that's how they have refuted. So Vibhu Parimanavadi has refuted all. So definitely Atma is distinct from this Sangada, this conglomerate of body-mind sense complex. And therefore then there is no dimension. Therefore it is infinite. Yeah, that is infinite. And that is, but then basically this he is a jiva only. And therefore jiva is infinite and jivas are many in number. How? I don't. They say like that. We say don't divide Atma. There is no division possible in Atma called Paramatma and Jivatma. No, but there is a division. Paramatma, Jivatma. Hey, we say it's a product of ignorance. The ignorance create this division that there are two. Paramatma and Jiva. A division between you and Ishvara is purely a brood of ignorance. There is no question of a division between these two. Well, but they divide first. That itself they are wrong. Paramatma and Jivatma. And then what is the size of Jivatma? Because Jiva is not basic. We have seen Lakshana Vipratipatti, we have already seen. Dehatmavada. No. Atma, that is this Jiva, is not a Deha, is not a mind, is not a prana, is not a buddhi, it is not a senses. It is not sense organ also. And it is not a buddhi also. Oh, then it is distinct from all. Then what is the dimension of Jiva? It is infinite. Because finitude, that limitation comes when you identified with this complex. If there is, could you follow what I am saying? And therefore Jiva is basically infinite. But then there are many Jivas. That's how they come. And we say division of Atma into Paramatma and Jivatma itself is not possible. If you divide, then there will be all problems. Maniness will come. And because you cannot say Paramatma is one and Jivatma is one. What is this? Paramatma is one and Jivatma is one. Therefore, then if Paramatma is one, Jivatma is one, then Jiva and Paramatma are one alone. No. We divide. So Paramatma is one and Jivatmas are many. This is how a very confusing thing. It's a very confusing thing, in fact. Anyway, so this is how they arrived. So even among the Vibhuvadis who have all this, well, we have our own thing to say that Atma is infinite in size and it is, they are not many. It's one Atma alone. And one without second, in fact. One without second. Ekam eva advitiyam. We say that. Anyway, so here in this, now we are discussing Swarupa Vipratipatti. And so regarding the nature of the Atma, which is the size of infinite, among these Vibhuvadis only, regarding the nature, there is a confusion. There are several opinions. So iti uktva, what is that? After discussing elaborately what? Regarding the dimension of this Atma, regarding the dimension of this real I, well, we discussed all this. Iti uktva means after discussing elaborately, we have come to an agreement that Atma is a Vibhu, Atma is infinite, but tad visheshe api, with respect to the nature of this all-pervading Atma, kalaham yayuhu, among these Vibhuvadis, kalaham, quarrel, yayuhu, ya dhatu is there. Ya means to go. Let's take here as a to enter. Yayuhu, entered. It's a past tense. It's a lit past tense. It's a paroksha bhutkala hai. So ya dhatu means to go or to enter, and yayuhu means entered. So kalaham yayuhu, they entered into the quarrel. Who? Vibhuvadis. Who say Atmas are many and Atma is infinite size and they are many. Well, they entered into the quarrel. Bahudha, in manifold ways. Regarding what? Regarding the nature of that Atma. So they have a widely divergent views. And in here, three portions are there regarding the nature. Three opinions are there. Some Vibhuvadis say Atma is Chidrupam. Atma is consciousness. Chit means consciousness. Chidrupam, Chit Swarupam. Atma is of the nature of consciousness. Atma, which is infinite, which are many, and which is the nature of consciousness. Someone says Achidrupam, Achidrupaha. Atma Achidrupaha. Chidrupaha, Achidrupaha. Achidrupaha means inert. So, Atma is inert in nature, Atma is Jadam. Atma means basically real I, right? So, I am Jadam, I am inert. He declares proudly that I am inert. Imagine. So, Atma is inert, Achidrupa. And second is Chidrupa. Well, Atma is of the nature of consciousness. And then third one, he says, well, don't fight regarding the nature of Atma. That one is saying Atma is consciousness, other one is saying Atma is inert. Don't fight. Let's compromise. Let us not quarrel among us. We have already quarreled with this Madhyama Parimanavadis and the Anuvadis and all that, and we are tired of that. Now among us, let's have a concurrence regarding the nature of Atma. We have a concurrence regarding the identity of Atma, that is Atma is basically, regarding the dimension also, regarding identity also, everything we have a concurrence. Then for nature also let's have a concurrence. Don't fight. So let's take Atma is Chidrupaha, Achidrupaha both. Atma is conscious entity and inert entity also. So it is Chit Jada Rupam. It is Jad Chetan Rupam, either way. So don't quarrel. So there is a third opinion. So three opinions regarding the nature of Atma among Vibhuvadis. Atma is Chidrupaha, Atma is Achidrupaha, Atma is Chit Achitrupaha. Okay? So three opinions are there. Let's go to verse number 88. Who says Chidrupaha, who says Achidrupaha, who says Chid Achidrupaha, etc. Who are those champions? Let's see them. So, verse number 88. Prabhakarastarkikascha prahurasya chidatmatam akashavadravyamaatma shabdavat tadgunaschitihi. Prabhakaras. So, he takes a first group of people who says Atma is Achidrupaha. Atma is Jadam. Atma is inert. From verse number 88 to 93, we are going to discuss a group of words. We are going to discuss about we are going to discuss about the people, a group of people who says Atma is Jadam. Atma is inert. And who are they? Prabhakaraha, Tarkikaha. Prabhakaraha, Tarkikaha. Tarkikaha here, see, we have to be specific. Tarkikas can be included, Nayayikas, Vaisheshikas and Sankhyas. But Sankhyas we are not including. The Sankhyas are not saying Atma is a inert. They say Atma is a conscious entity called Purusha, etc. We don't go right now. So here Tarkika means Nayayikas and Vaisheshikas. And Prabhakaraha, they are Purva Mimamsaka. I will talk about them. So there is this is a group of philosophers who believe Atma is infinite in size. Atma is distinct from body, mind, sense complex. But Atma is Achidrupa. Atma is inert in nature. So, and this Tarkikas basically and this Purva Mimamsaka, all definite, they are Vedikas only because heavily depend upon Veda for the nature of Atma, etc. But so what happens is, Tarkikas, they accept Veda, but they give a inferior status as a Pramana. They don't give a total validity to Veda regarding the nature of Atma, regarding many things in fact. So, Purva Mimamsakas also and the Tarkikas also, Tarkikas give a inferior status to Veda. Purva Mimamsaka gives a inferior status to Tarka. They give a priority to the validity of the Veda. They give a lower status to Tarka. Tarkikas give a priority to Tarka and give a lower status to Veda. That's how it is. So basically, Purva Mimamsaka means these Prabhakaras are Purva Mimamsakas. Well, how this Prabhakara you call Purva Mimamsakas? Because Purva Mimamsaka has two groups. Well, one is a Bhatta Mata Mimamsaka and second one is a Prabhakar Mimamsakas. And Bhatta Mimamsaka means that word Bhatta has come from the word Kumaril Bhatta, who you know very well. Kumaril Bhatta was a great Mimamsaka. And his version of a Purva Mimamsaka is called Bhattamatam. And he had a disciple. Kumaril Bhatta has a disciple called Prabhakara Mishra. And Prabhakara Mishra was a very intelligent person, very, very great person. So even though he is a disciple, because of his creativity of thinking, he differed from his guru called Kumaril Bhatta. And so what happens, in Purva Mimamsaka, they have a sutras. Jaimini Rishi has composed, like Vyasacharya has composed Brahma Sutra for Vedanta. For Veda Purva Bhaga also there are sutras composed by Jaimini. And definitely Kumaril Bhatta also has derived a whole theory of a Purva Mimamsa based on these Jaimini sutras. And they are Dharma Sutra, they called sometimes, they are called Mimamsa Sutras also. We have a Brahma Sutra, they have a Dharma Sutra. It's a huge, we have 555, but this Purva Mimamsa Sutras are, I think, more than 1200 or something. Anyway, so, Prabhakara Mishra, who is a disciple, and Kumaril Bhatta, who is a guru, both from the Jaimini Sutras, depending upon that Jaimini Sutras, they have derived a philosophy. So that's a Bhatta Mimamsa and Prabhakara Mimamsa. So that is how it is. And Advaitins basically like this Bhattamatam much. It's a closer comparatively compared to this Prabhakaras. So de prahuhu, Prabhakaraha tarkikascha prahuhu, they say. Prabhakaras means this particular branch of a Purva Mimamsakas, and Tarkikaha means Nayayikas and Vaisheshikas, they prahuhu, they declared what? Asya achidatmatam, asya atmanah, this real I, this Atma is, which is a Vibhu, which is infinite in size, which is distinct from the body, mind, sense complex. Achidatmatam, which is of the nature of Achit, which is of the nature of, which is inert in nature. They say like that. And what they say, Akashavat Dravyam Atma. They say this. See, Swamiji, how this Prabhakara word came. From Prabhakara Mishra was the name of the person. And he gave a philosophy. That philosophy is called Prabhakara. Like, we are following a certain philosophy in Advaita. So we are called Shankaraha. Because Shankaracharya ji, somebody say it is Advaita philosophy is given by Shankaracharya. It is a philosophy, it's not a philosophy in fact, but let's call philosophy. So anyway, but that is have been given in the Veda. But Shankaracharya ji brought it out actually for us through Bhashyam, etc., through commentary. And so we are called Shankara or Shankara Matam, we call. So from Shankaracharya ji, word Shankara has come. Same way from Prabhakara Mishra, the philosophy we have come, and the followers of that philosophy all are called Prabhakaras. Because who follow Prabhakara Mishra's philosophy of a Purva Mimamsa. So Prabhakara is the name of a philosophy. Prabhakara is the name of the followers of that philosophy. Could you follow what I am saying? So Prabhakara Mishra is a name of a person who was a disciple of a Kumaril Bhatta. But then he independently gave a Purva Mimamsa Darshanam based on Jaimini Sutra. Kumaril Bhatta also gave a darshan of a Purva Mimamsa based on Jaimini Sutra. Source is one, but they both derived a different philosophy, even though there was a relationship of a Guru Shishya. But the Shishya was very powerful, and so at some place, don't think that it is totally opposite in nature. At some place there is a difference of opinion, and that is there even in Shankaracharya ji's case also. Shankaracharya ji is a guru, and Sureshwaracharya ji is a disciple. But at several places, Sureshwaracharya ji has given his own opinion, and that is called Vartikam. Vartikam is a place where Sureshwaracharya ji has composed this Vartikam, where he differed regarding a certain small points. Regarding those points, he differed from Shankaracharya ji. So it is possible. Sureshwaracharya ji also was very brilliant, and Kumaril Bhatta's Shishya is this Sureshwaracharya. You are telling Shankaracharya ji's philosopher, disciple, yeah. but in Purvashrama. Before entered into the discussion with the Shankaracharya ji, he was called Mandan Mishra. And Mandan Mishra was a disciple of a Kumaril Bhatta, and a great person. Kumaril Bhatta entered into the fire, and Shankaracharya ji went to him and said, I want to have a discussion regarding this, the purport of the Veda. I want to discuss, because Kumaril Bhatta was believing karma was basically a purport of the entire Veda. This Brahman etc. is just Arthavada etc. I don't want to enter. But then he said like that. Shankaracharya ji wanted to discuss with him, but he said, I have entered all into the fire etc. because of some dosha. So my Shishya is there in Mandan Mishra in Mahishmati, and you go to him and discuss with him. And then Shankaracharya ji came to Mandan Mishra and had a discussion, and Mandan Mishra was vehemently arguing that the purport of the entire Veda is a karma only. For moksha you have only one sadhanam, that is karma, and karma kanda alone is a portion of the main portion of the Veda. All this Vedanta etc., all this Mahavakya and all this is all Arthavada. This Jiva is Brahman etc. is just for extolling that Jiva actually. Like while many people are extolled like that, oh, you are so great, so great, so great, like that. So Jiva is Brahman is this kind of philosophy. But then Acharya established very beautifully that the knowledge of Brahman alone leads to moksha etc. And then Mandan Mishra became a disciple of Shankaracharya ji called Sureshwaracharya ji. Anyway, this is just by the way. So this Prabhakaras and this Vaisheshikas and Naiyayikas all agree with regarding the dimension, regarding the identity of Atma, they all have a concurrence. But regarding the nature, they say, this particular group of three, they say Atma is Achit. Atma is inert by nature. How? Akashavat. Akashavat dravyam Atma, just as space is all pervading and inert in nature, Atma is also all pervading and inert in nature. Space is all pervading and inert in nature, and that is how Atma also is like that. What is the difference between space and Atma? Why don't you you drop the word Atma? Says the space is Atma. Why? Then because all the way it is similar. Well, space has a property called Shabda, and Atma does not have a property of Shabda. Atma has another property. What is that property? Well, Atma is a property of consciousness. And another difference between Akasha and Atma. What? Akasha has a property called Shabda all the time. So that is a Nitya Guna. Nitya Guna. All the time it is there. Whereas Atma has a temporary property called consciousness. Anitya Guna. So sometimes becomes conscious, sometimes becomes inert. Sometimes becomes conscious, sometimes becomes inert. That's how it is. By nature it is inert. By default it is inert. But because of some conditions it becomes conscious. Don't think. I will give you an example, then you start believing today that it is like that. But so they say like that. You may think they are Swamiji, they all are crazy people. They should be admitted to the mental hospital. Don't think. Highly intelligent people. Don't think. And that is why this mananam is very much required. Anyway, so basically Atma has a temporary property called consciousness. Anyway, so consciousness is Atma is like Akasha. That's correct. Akasha is a dravyam. Atma is also dravyam, substance. And dravyam has a property, guna. So Akasha has a property called Shabda. But that is all the time there in that dravyam called Akasha. But Atma has which is a dravyam, also has a guna called consciousness, jnana, or chit, or chiti. But it is temporary. So we say Atma is the consciousness is not a part, product or property of anything. It's an independent entity. If you remember our 5-point program, then Atma is an independent entity. No, it's a dependent entity. Consciousness is a dependent entity. It's a guna. Guna always resides in the dravyam. Right? Guna always resides in dravyam. Property resides in a substance. Anyway, so this is the difference. So Shabdavat, he says, like sound is a property of Akasha. So Akashasya Shabda Gunaha Nityam, but Atma has a guna called consciousness, it is Anityam. So it's Akashavat Atma Dravyam. Tad Gunaha, property of that Akasha is Chitihi, means consciousness, that is temporary. Anyway, so this is how he says. I'll just complete a small part of that verse, another verse 89. Ichha dvesha prayatnascha dharma dharmau sukha sukhe tat samskara ascha tasyaite gunaschiti vadiriritaha. So in previous verse he said Atma is an inert substance and it has a consciousness as a temporary property. And Atma becomes conscious now and then, being a temporary property, and that is the only property. Consciousness is alone property of that is the only property in Atma. No. Atma has other gunas also, other properties also. What are they? Well, Ichha means raga. Second is and dvesha. So dvesha also is there. So, well, you can think now. We say this raga dvesha belongs to mind. These people say raga dvesha belongs to Atma. Anyway, third is what? Prayatna. Prayatna means a will. Generally, prayatna may be generally translated as effort. That's a general meaning of word prayatna. And that belongs to basically mind and body, right? Effort is on the part of mind and body. But he says no. This prayatna or will basically belongs to Atma only. Then what are other? Well, dharma, punyam. Punyam belongs to Atma. Adharma, papam, belongs to Atma. We say, well, na punyam, na papam, na sukham. We say Atma is like that. But you can understand now the difference between us. We are also Vibhuvadi. Atma is infinite in size. They are also Vibhuvadi. But this is how the difference between Vibhuvadis. Anyway, and then what? Sukha sukhe, sukham. Sukham is a property of Atma, and asukham also is asukham. And we say dukkham, he said asukham. Asukham is also property of Atma. Tat samskarasya, so tat samskara, sukha sukha samskara. So there is a sukha vasana and dukkha vasana. Because every experience, right, leaves behind a vasana in the mind, impressions in the mind. In Tarka Shastra, they say very beautifully, Anubhava generates vasana. So they always say Anubhava janya samskara. The impressions are born of varieties of the experience of pleasure and pain. So that this will give me pain, that's impression. That this will give me pleasure, that's impression. That generated from what? Generated from the pleasure, experiences of pleasure and pain. So, tad samskara means tad janita samskara. Tad means this sukha sukham. Sukha vasana is there, dukkha vasana is there. Anyway, and those vasanas only when it manifests into memory. Vasana, they say udbhuta vasana smriti. Udbhuta. So those vasanas will manifest in the form of memory. Suppose, right now we are discussing this Pancadasi. Suddenly I start talking about Badrinath. And then if you had gone, whole picture will come into your mind. Right? And therefore, the vasanas, impressions born of the experience of that Badrinath, going to Badrinath and all that, that is there in your mind. And when I discuss that, that comes out in the form of memory. Vasana alone comes out in the form of a memory. Vasana gets converted into memory. Anyway, this vasanas also belong to Atma. This is what they say. Not just consciousness, but all this Ichha, Dvesha, Prayatna, Dharma, Sukham, Asukham, and all the samskaras or vasanas belong to Atma. We say it all belong to ultimately mind. They say no, they belong to Atma. Anyway. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.